bright ideas, timeless impact. For over 2 decades, Happydent has lit up screens and smiles with unforgettable storytelling, from palace chandeliers powered by pearly whites to witty public service reminders on buses. With McCann at the creative helm, the brand has built a legacy of bold, award-winning campaigns, including the iconic Happydent Palace TVC, named one of the top 20 campaigns of the 21st century by the Gun Report. Now, Happydent is back with a fresh take, one that continues its tradition of dazzling creativity while speaking to a new generation. Today, I'm joined by world-renowned creative icon Prasoon Joshi and Nikhil Sharma, Managing Director of Perfetti Van Melle India, to talk about the new campaign, the power of storytelling, and what's next for the shining star of Indian advertising. Hello and welcome to the studio, Prasoon, Nikhil. An absolute pleasure for me to have you both here. Because I am a fan, as Prasoon knows, of the iconic work that has come from Happydent. And I would really like to start at the very beginning, the genesis. Take me back to early 2000s, launching Happydent, the creative idea that started a whole journey of storytelling that has gone through its phases of evolution as well. So maybe, Prasoon, I'll come to you first, and then I'll give the same question to Nikhil. Take me back to that first campaign ad for Happydent, because McCann has been a brand custodian for Happydent right from the start. We don't see that often, an agency and a brand sticking together for that long. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit in the past and talk about those early years.
So I think, first of all, thank you for inviting us. You have covered Happydent and the whole journey of Happydent earlier also. I think it's one of the rare brands which have been very consistent and built on ideas. It's not that Happydent not try the regular formulaic advertising way. So when you are referring to the earlier days, that was marketing people. They come from fantastic institutes, and they have the way that today we call it much a different way of data. But that time also data was there, of a kind of a data, which case studies which you study in your management schools, and you come and apply them and think that this will work. In this case, my belief right from the beginning was, when we were doing a little bit of formulaic work, which was very, before and after kind of work, that the chewing gum to a nation which is Span, Supari, then it's not like obsessed with, especially if you promise tall that you will have a date or you will have a fantastic evening because of teeth. That's overpromise. I think we believe in dental hygiene, but we are also have a very different cultural meaning to it. So I felt, let's get into a very fantastical world where there is humor, there, fantasy, and a different world was created where, whether it's a photographer's assistant who's like used as a bulb, is exaggeration, excessive, or a palace where somebody is employed as a bulb, in a chandelier. And there's a fantastical world which we created. And I must thank Perfetti, and he was younger at that time, but the entire team which was there, but he's been part of this journey, and that they believed in that kind of storytelling. It was never before storytelling. That's why it has been referred to by the whole world as something which they still remember, and we have come up with something new again. So I think there is a consistency, there is a belief, and learning for all of us. And especially for me, it's been part of very, very important part of my career in this profession, that I have learned a lot and collaborated with some fantastic people along the way. Be it on their side, Samir Saneja earlier, and now Nikhil. I'm so happy that he's back. From whichever country he has been in exotic places, but I'm so happy that he's back. So there has been a absolute learning curve, not only as an advertising professional, I can tell you, not only for me, for McCann, for Perfetti, but for the industry.
Right.
What works with people? If you honestly take them with you on a journey which you believe in, they are with you.
Are you happy to be back, Nikhil?
I'm thrilled to be back. Actually, Prasoon's already thanked you for having us here. Let me be also thankful for the profuse praise for Happydent. It makes it all so much worthwhile. I keep telling people that, it's vindication of the work that we do. And when I go to college campuses or whenever I play, the Happydent Palace commercial, people still look at it in awe and they say that it gives them goosebumps, and it's such a nice thing to hear.
It
right?
puts a smile on people's faces,
absolutely.
right? And that
Absolutely.
you're leaving people with that feeling is a win. It's a huge win.
It really is. It's a shot in the arm for us. And Prasoon's been kind enough to say that, we've had a collaboration which has been fabulous. I think really the collaboration on Happydent with PVM and McCann is like the poster boy for, agency-client relationship, because so much of the work which they have done for us has been clutter breaking, but it's been coming from the right intent. And, Samir before me, and we've taken the ability, we had the ability to take a leap of faith sometimes, with the agency, knowing that it comes with the best intent. And that's where, and that intersection of that leap of faith and their ability to deliver clutter breaking commercials has led to a little bit of magic, we feel, in this whole journey.
A lot of magic, I think, a lot of magic. But, earlier we were talking about, and I'll just get into the category a little bit, and how that idea of this being an impulse purchase was so critical to, igniting this journey and this evolution for the brand, and how creativity has shaped it, storytelling has shaped it. Because you mustn't forget that for us, it is an impulse purchase.
It is.
Tell me a little bit about your insight on that, from the time back then also, and any insights that you can share with us right now before we get into, of course, the creative storytelling journey.
Well, the insight in it is, I think, well told over several years that, nobody will go to different shops looking for a product like a gum, right? If they don't find it in one shop, they will obviously move on. So obviously the sales team has a role to play in first placing it, and we do a fabulous job of that. After that, obviously the commercial and the memorability of the ad takes over, because it needs to be top of mind. When the consumer goes to the shop, she sees a range of products. What will she buy? It's not that it's a very discerned decision, but sometimes, with commercials like the Happydent one, it's always top of mind, which helps. Yeah? And that really has been the magic ingredient for all our brands, not only Happydent. But obviously we are here to talk about this brand, but it's true that clutter breaking communication and being top of mind when the consumers at the point of purchase makes a huge difference.
Absolutely, especially for these categories, and that is a very, maybe perhaps underappreciated today. I don't know, Prasoon, but let's talk about that sort of that creative spark that happened. We were talking about it earlier with the photographer piece, the work that we saw. It was something. Tell me how it was born, because it was not born from a brief.
See, brief. For me, after a point, you repeatedly go, I assimilate it, I absorb the brief and let it sprout in me, okay, and manifest itself in me. After listening to what we had, and we had a formulaic piece of work, which, actually born out of Italy work, which they had shown, which was very before and after, which they will logically was correct. Everything was correct about it. And I felt there's something amiss. Now, this is what I think is very, very important for a relationship between a client and the creative person. If you think that, okay, fine, I've delivered to this brief, but for me, that's not enough. Have we been able to strike a chord? It's not my job to please him or his ilk. It is for me to strike a chord with the consumer. And I felt, saying everything, but probably something is amiss. So there is a filmmaker friend of ours, mine, Dadu, Abhijit Chaudhary. He was shooting something else. And I requested him, can you put up a set? And I will support it from my side. I want to gift something to Perfetti, show them something. Because to believe that where we are trying to go, sometimes, you need leap of faith, but also need imagination is not enough. You want to see something in flesh and blood. So we shot this photographer, where in a day's time we finished it, and that the photographer's assistant is a bulb, which whenever he laughs, if that's my laughter, you'll hear that. It is a bizarre laughter it gives, and then the flash will come. So that's the first time. And when I showed it to them, I don't think anybody else, they would have been indulgent and said, very nice, seems like very passionate person here. But it was not enough. They really tested it and they went ahead with it and showed it to the world. And that did magic. The faith did the magic. It connected. And it opened doors for future. So then next time when I went to, Perfetti team, and Samir was there, and presented the story of a man who is employed as a bulb in a chandelier in a king's palace. How bizarre is that? Yeah. And the questions were not, are you serious? The question is, you must be serious. Yeah. And that's what resulted into the palace commercial, where you saw all his friends are different bulbs. One in the swimming pool, one is in a badminton court, one in a wedding light. So that world came to life. And I'm so happy that it resonated with the whole world.
It still does.
It still does. And then came many things which we did in between. We launched one with elephant teeth lighting up called Happydent Wave. Yeah. Then we did a socially, if you want me to come to that or we can come later, how responsibility and purpose got introduced in this brand, which you will see now, and which is a very difficult and tight rope to walk on, I would say.
Because it's tricky. You don't want to get preachy, especially with a brand like this and a product like this. But before we get into the next phase, I want to just get Nikhil's view also on that transition that happened from the functional to the fantastical. Yeah. Because I think that switch in the brand's journey mattered a lot. So give me your view from where you were at that point in time, and what was the mood like? Because as much as I like knowing what viewers think about an ad, I also want to know what the stakeholders think about when that commercial, for instance, was first shown to the teams, to stakeholders. What was it like?
Yeah, so I mean, the tide of the brand changed when the photographer commercial was aired, right? And we were really struggling to sell the brand. And then as soon as the photographer commercial came, brand sales started going up. And as we like to say in our industry, we're out of capacity. So every time we aired the commercial, it was fabulous to hear. And then, it was a point in time when we were ready to take the next step, right? And I was a brand manager, I remember, and we saw that film incidentally in a studio because, Prasoon had made it up and, we were completely unaware. I knew of the storyboard, but, we had not gone for the shoot or anything. It was an 84-second commercial. We watched it and we watched it and we rewatched it like 5 times. We just took it all in, and we all knew, everybody in that room knew we were in the presence of something very, very good. The music was fabulous. The way it came together, the climax, the way he comes down. So, yeah, I mean, I still remember anecdotally, it was 84 seconds, and Samir was asking Prasoon, how are we going to run this commercial? It's going to be how, and we ultimately had this agreement that we'll run it for 2 weeks, and we'll run some 80 spots at the time. And that's all it needed. We ran it for 2 weeks. We ran it for 2 weeks and we didn't run it for 6 months after that. Just that commercial was such a talk value. It did fabulously for the brand. So we're obviously, we were on a high and we got this commercial and, it just exploded the brand for us. And it was nice for Perfetti to be in that conversation because, before that, we were not really known for the company name. We were known for our brand name. Then I think Perfetti Van Melle, because of the also started getting a little bit of traction.
Absolutely true. But you mentioned the music and Prasoon, a very quintessential aspect of, and this is not, we don't see this often. Where music and that sonic magic that's created, which is entirely original for a brand, it's very rare in Indian advertising. And one of the brands that has done it right, in my view, is Happydent. And of course, you've lent your voice to it. You always lend your, pen to it and your words to it. Tell me a little bit about, go back to Palace. I mean, a lot has been written and spoken about it already, but if there is something that you still haven't shared, a moment, a feeling, something about the Palace commercial and the music and the making of it, tell us today.
Yeah, I mean, you see, it was specially awarded for music in Cannes. But I was not surprised. Music was very special. In this one also is very special. Another special part of it is a friend, director Ram Madhwani, who, who so beautifully brought this to life. I had this world in my head. You can storyboard it, but to bring it to life, I think I have to be ever thankful to Ram for collaborating on this. And for music, that time it was Shantanu Moitra. This time also is Shantanu with us. And we're so fortunate that Shantanu came on board. All these people, see, at that time and this time, the difference is, we really excited people and said, can you please, collaborate? We probably wouldn't be able to pay your, highest price or, your market price. But there's something which is very rare. Whether it's Kailash Kher, came. And that music happened, okay, and that was more in a very spiritual genre. That music, Tan Roshan, Man Roshan, To Jahan Roshan. There's a certain spirituality to that music.
Yeah.
That was the tone in that music. It was, and and it reached that time also for a. See, imagine it's a chewing gum brand, yeah. And you're talking about spirituality. So, see, that's the leap. It's a leap of creativity, leap of faith. And the fact, he was telling 84 seconds, and they just didn't blink. They said, we'll run 84. If you believe in this piece, 84 is a very odd number.
Right.
It's not 90, it's not 60, it's not 30, it's not 20. And you said, okay, we'll run 84. What does it say about this company and these people? That they respect every second of our creativity. That is the reason we have been able to last this today in the world when everything is here and now and changing. You see, this is an example of consistency, which I believe in. McCann as a brand believes in, right. Whether it's for this or for our other brands, for L'Oreal, for others. You see, that we have priceless for MasterCard. We've consistently, I think, where there is a consistent relationship between a client and an agency, the brand custodians, I think you will see the results. Yes, short term you might get restless. I'm not saying that people should get complacent. It doesn't mean that you have to keep changing your jobs, as we were talking earlier, right. Delshad, about, for updating yourself. If you are not updating yourself, you're not by nature that kind of person, you can change as many jobs you want. But if you are stuck, you're stuck. It's not about getting stuck to an anchor. It's an anchor. Don't see it as a limitation.
Absolutely. It keeps you rooted, that yes. relationship, being that custodian, because not many people can be called a brand custodian on the agency side as well. But going back to the craft of that piece of work, and we'll dwell on it a little bit more before we yes. move on, along on that journey. Yeah. But 84, you mentioned this number, like every second mattered, and what stuck out for Palace also was the attention to detail. Yeah. Yeah. Like all those moments where you saw that idea of yours manifest. Yes. Tell me a little bit more about that. Why that 84? Why did that 84 seconds matter the way it did?
See, because there is a high point in that. I need the last shot is today. There's one person in our organization who watched it. One of the creative directors. Just before coming, PK he just watched it, and I asked his point of view, and he said that, I still hear the sound of cricket in the last shot of the earlier one, when he's hanging from the pole, and then, sound of cricket. That's how attention is important, how detailing is important, that you left people lingering on for what more can be the interpretation of bulbs and humans coming together. Can there be more? And you leave people at that last sort of wanting for more kind of thing. So I think it is, imagination comes full circle and lands somewhere. So where it lands, it should land. It should not unnecessarily drag, or it should not be abruptly cut. So there is an importance to, I have been brought up in the tradition of classical music, where there is a role for alap, and there is, then tans are there, and is, chota khayal, bada khayal, and there is a way the whole journey will end. All classical music concerts do start and end, and the build up has its own importance. Yeah. So is the end, so is the crescendo. But crescendo in suspension is nothing. If I tell you the end of a story and do not tell you the build-up of a story, end might be very elevating for you, but it does not stand in suspension. Your whole narrative depends on the build-up. So I think that's what Happydent has been. It's a long story. This one is also a long story, but the long story is required. As much as people are getting, we are talking about attention span,
yes, shrinking.
and shrinking. As much as people are, getting addicted to distraction, binge watching is also happening at the same time.
True.
So people who are hooked on to something, they want to see more of it.
Repeat of it, yeah.
Yeah. So we should not get, that attention span of human race has reduced to 8 seconds, which is less than 1 second less than the goldfish. Yeah. On one hand, you have this kind of the data coming. On the other hand, you have people binge watching. So if you tell a story and people get interested in it, what is viral? People confuse viral. Viral means if I really loved what you said. People are also getting, into podcasts, right, which are longer conversation like we are having. So if you really like it, you forward it.
Yeah.
And when you forward it, it's viral. So do you create the virus, or virus is created on its own?
Lovely. I like that point about we are addicted to distraction, and we are, of course, contradictions. Yeah. On one hand, we want those shots, but on the other hand, we're also binge watching, like you mentioned. But on that note, let me ask you this, Nikhil. A campaign like commercial, if you, zoom out of just maybe the universe of Happydent and Perfetti, but do you think a campaign like Palace would happen in this day and age? Keeping aside, of course, the current work, because it is that same kind of cinematic experience and storytelling. But keeping that aside for now, would Palace have happened in this day and age?
To be honest, the probability of it happening would be lower. But then, of course, if you have the conviction, if you have the right set of partners, I think because this is all about brand ownership, right? So many times Prasoon has called me to say, the ad's done, but I'm not happy, right? I know I want to do the music again, or I want to, so, with that kind of conviction carries the ability for a client like us to say, we can go bigger, and, we can do something very, very different from what the standard, 25, 30-second commercials are. But you're right. The media landscape is completely different right now. And the possibility of such a thing happening in today's day and age is lower. At the same time, but conversely, it means that, this is likely to get far more traction. Yeah, for that reason alone.
Exactly.
That it's not happening anymore.
No, which brings us to the power of storytelling, great storytelling, right? If you have that, people will consume, people will watch. But let me switch over. Let's move along again in that journey and talk about sort of the the progress to purpose. and how you marry that with the brand's tone, reason to be, the impulsive nature of the category, the the creativity aspect, because that is a tricky mix. And Prasoon, I mean, you see a lot of global work as well, and you see how easily it can go into that realm of why is this brand talking about this purpose? I mean, what business do they have? Or I mean, why are they preaching to me? Just sell me that piece of gum. How do you balance that? How do you make sure that you retain that storytelling, that fun, that fantastical aspect of the brand, while of course bringing it, taking that narrative forward?
See, today you were in my session in Waves, and when I was talking about hyper-personalization. And hyper-personalization means you have earlier you had a fragmented narrative of your consumer. You all weaved it in together, and you have a larger narrative. You know the consumer so well, every move of the consumer. You're talking about moment marketing today, right. And you're talking about micro sort of creative. Now, yes, you know the consumer very well, but we have to caution ourselves that at times consumer doesn't want to be known so well. You can see it from life. You have someone who knows you very well. You're trying to sing, and somebody who knows you since childhood says, "But you were in the singing class. You used to be thrown out." Do you want to be reminded of that reality? So much of data. So at times you have to caution yourself that you have to instinctively tell your stories. It's not that the consumer wants to be known. Don't know me that well could be another. Know me, but know me as much, because not everyone has the confidence to accept what the person is. It requires a very, very confident this thing, a little bit that I want to accept every bit of myself. There's a consumer who wants to be known for a certain thing. And I think that distinction today's world, coming back to the instinct with which we follow the storytelling here. So your question was that the purpose, which has come part of today's world, when we say that you have to have a purpose in a brand. I think the purpose could be very instinctive. That is happiness. Why do you think making people smile, which we had the first line for Happydent was "Smile, please."
Right.
Yeah, just smile. Or right now the one is chumking gum. Why, if something chewing gum is to chumking gum, it's like ing, chumking. Doesn't it bring us, if it brings smile, isn't it purpose? Yes, it is purpose. But still, I think marketers, Nikhil has been in so many countries, and he is, he also, but he was very clear that I don't want purpose in my brand which becomes overbearing.
Right.
It's a impulse purchase, little happiness product. Yeah. How do you bring purpose if you have to? And that was a challenge, I would say. Yeah.
For you.
What? Yes. So taking it into fantastical genre in this one, which we have done, to bring in purpose with something as small, but I would say in a sense significant. It's a delicate balance. And that's where storytelling, music, portrayal, art direction plays a very important role. And you'll see that. That's. And I'm also thankful to someone we collaborated this time with, this Vinyl Matthew, who's directed this Times commercial. Vinyl has brought in his own sensibility, his own sort of, and I sometimes let Vinyl be and feel. I also wanted his part of his sort of creative sort of juices. So I think it's been again this journey, another fantastic collaboration.
Because from a brand perspective, not many brands can do what Happydent is doing. There is a legacy with Happydent of consumer trust. There's an authenticity to the advertising that we have done. So we have the ability to also do this. We couldn't pull this off with some of our other brands, or some of the other brands couldn't do this. But it's just that Happydent has been successful also with the previous commercial to talk about something like this, and very well received.
The bus commercial.
The bus commercial, absolutely. So it also takes a certain heft in a brand to pull this off, right? Of course, all of what Prasoon said helps. The fact that it's really good storytelling, the music's fabulous, and we are not preachy, right? Most importantly, right? We're just highlighting a situation in society where we need to do better as people, and it's really come out well.
And you were talking about, the aspect of we're a country of pan chewers, eaters, and, our lack of civic sense in that way. So I actually think it's a beautiful fit for a purpose, right? Just the aspect of, the way we conduct ourselves in public places. Certainly a lot of room for improvement there, and the fit, I think, works beautifully well. And maybe we'll watch the commercial now, just for our viewers as well.
Yeah, Delshad worked on this, the Swachh Bharat campaign very closely. And every day you hear the song which I wrote for them, Swachh Bharat ka irada kar liya humne, on the Kuda Gadi. Yeah? So one has been working very closely, and one has seen that the fact that we've come a long way, but we have still a long way to go in terms of when it comes to, कूड़ेदान का आप use कर रहे हैं कि नहीं कर रहे हैं. You are using, there are things there, but are you using them? So that's where this one is trying to draw your attention or throwing spotlight or a Happydent light on it.
Absolutely. And like we were talking about purpose earlier, right? We just assume that why does a brand purpose have to always be a lofty ambition, something that is not quite tangible in that sense. It can, like you said, it could just simply be putting a smile on people's faces. And in this case, you're just encouraging better habits, period. But I'm just going to cue, and we're going to watch the commercial also quickly.
उजाला तोड़ के झील झील रस निचोड़ के साबुत साबुत उजाला तोड़ के झील झील रस निचोड़ के छोट लगा रोशनी का चमका मुस्कान जगमग जहान चमका मुस्कान जगमग जहान चमका मुस्कान very 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 chunking gum very chunking gum very chunking gum very chunking gum sir very chunking gum very chunking gum very chunking gum wow
Let's talk about the new campaign, Prasoon. Dig a little deeper into it and talk about the music. Again, like we were talking about the music, even in the earlier commercials, this one again, very distinctive sound. There's that element of sonic magic. Tell me a little bit about your thought process. And I know that you've worked very closely on each of these pieces of work. How did this one fare compared to the others? Did you enjoy it more?
Oh, absolutely. I enjoyed it. No, I enjoyed that time also. Enjoyed quite a lot.
I'm not asking you to pick, don't worry.
This time also enjoyed a lot. So the story was, as you can see in the commercial, it's about a little bit of purpose, but not becoming lofty. And there is a kind of a folklore kind of feel to it. So when I imagined these boys from this village who get together for a purpose and paint themselves red. Yeah. Okay. Now this painting, whole act of painting, okay, that entire thing is intriguing. why these people are painting themselves and where are they up to. Yeah. So when the music has to be in sync with it, music has to take this feeling further. So what always used to happen to my head when I used to imagine these scenes, either, trumpets will come, like a Sharadi ka band kind of thing will come, or folk music kind of rhythm will come. So in the beginning, actually, there were no sort of poetry.
Yeah.
There was just music supposed to happen. And Vinil showed it to me, and I said, no, there has to be something more, to say something in poetry, take this feeling higher. So I started writing to a rhythm in my head, which was imagining light like a fruit. Light, it's like a papaya or some fruit up there. And light is only light. So you go ahead and reach out for it and pluck a fruit which is light. And then peel the fruit. And then squeeze it, churn it. And there is a juice coming out of it. And juice is splashing like light, splashes on the world, sprinkles light around. That's the kind of imagery. And it is to be sung in a folk style. So when I went to the studio, and then, of course, later on, I felt that Shantanu Moitra was earlier collaborated with us. It'll be great to have his mind on board. So he came and I shared this with him. Yeah. And then we jammed. And I picked up the mic and went behind this thing. And I thought I will sing it for dummy. But it's often happened with me that whenever I sing dummy and after that is put, everybody says, no, we don't need to get anyone now. Okay. So the same thing happened here. I did the singing and everybody started liking it and then it went on. But the whole thing is to lift the story and add another dimension to it. And this time the dimension is a folk dimension, with a little bit of feel of Assamese. And I should thank, my days working with Bhupena Jarika. And in fact, there is a line called Chamking Gum in this. Very chamking gum, very chamking gum. So I was just thanking Bhupenda. Very Bhupenda, very Bhupenda. So then Vanil said it has to change. This is this line. I was just doing that line for fun, actually. Thanking Bhupenda for the kind of rhythm we were using. So a little bit of that, a little bit of my Uttarakhand folk background, which came together came into this. And Shantanu Moitra was there to, he's so fantastic to exploit the best in you. And Vinil was there. So it's a great collaboration. I think I had really a great time.
And Chamking Gum, Nikhil, you think you're onto something here, catchy, very rooted in our Indianness, like for us it was never chewing gum, it was chewing gum. So it really also almost like this childlike enthusiasm about something as simple as gum,
Absolutely.
How pumped are you about
We are very
this?
excited, and I must tell you that when Prasoon called me, he said, I think you like the ad, but more than likely that you will change the baseline of the ad. And he left it at that. And I was wondering, what this, and as clients, we tend to go back to our comfort zone many times and say, what's working for the brand, let's not change it. But I think this is one of those moments where you heard the line and you said, yes, Happydent is now going to be Chamking Gum in the near future, because it's so intuitive, right? And like you said, chewing-gum has been colloquially used in India for such a long time. Right. I'm almost wondering why we didn't come to this earlier. Yeah, but it is. It's really nicely done. It's set in lyrics, and it's one of those things which we hope will really catch on. Yeah, it's because it's such a hummable tune.
Right. Just quickly closing remarks on your perhaps objectives of this campaign. And I know we're veering a little bit into the business aspect of it, but if you could just sum up what your objectives are. We've taken this journey from 2002, Happydent entering India. We've seen the evolution of creative work. It's been a beacon of creativity. You're taking that language, that creative creativity forward into purpose and, you know, an interpretation of that. What do you hope of this campaign?
You know, Happydent's been a success story for so many years. Even today in 2025, as we sit, it's the fastest growing chewing gum brand in India. You know, so we hope to really amplify that growth, you know, grow exponentially. There are many variants which are going to come under Happydent, and, you know, this kind of umbrella advertising is going to help all of that. You know, we are also thinking of premiumization in the brand.
Right.
So, you know, any such communication really helps with the overall imagery and equity of the brand. And all those initiatives are likely to benefit with, you know, if this commercial does well for us, which we are, you know, obviously really hoping for.
Absolutely. Prasoon, you know, I said that I will not ask you which has been your favorite, and you said you've had fun. But that is the thing, right? When you have fun and when you have that history, legacy, that relationship with a brand and the people behind that brand, the fun happens. Your closing thoughts on how important fun is? I mean, we do need fun back in advertising,
Absolutely.
right? Especially in this day and age, we're constantly talking about media fragmentation, and we talk about all of this data and AI, and there's so much, but we forget the basics. Just putting a smile on people's faces, entertain me.
Yeah. So I think fun was a basic ingredient. I found a lot of drifters who came to this profession, and they felt that they're not having enough fun, and they felt that they will get together and do something which really they will enjoy.
Yeah.
Now what is happening is they are getting overburdened with it today, and too much of formula is coming that. I think the instinct, as I talked earlier also about, it's very, very important for a storyteller. If your storyteller is not interested in his or her own story, if they're not interested in their own stories, it's a very rare chances that people will be interested in you. So how will you be interested if you're not having fun, if you're not, you know, effervescent, bubbling with ideas, not looking forward to meeting your own? During this film, I was so excited that, you know, I'm going to now meet Vinil. Without him, Chamkingam would not have been there. Yeah. So I will meet Shantanu. I will meet my team, my creative team, entire team. I'll meet Nikhil, and we will, and he, actually, I must thank him for pushing it. We were getting stuck. He said, now let's do it. Yeah. Now we require that faith. Without that, nothing can happen. So I think somebody having fun and will produce great stuff, in my opinion. If you do not enjoy yourself, what you do, I don't think people are going to enjoy it. Yeah. It starts all at you. Absolutely. If your teams are not enjoying what they are creating, the process of creation, I enjoyed every bit of this short storytelling. I do long storytelling as well in films. But here in advertising, that short storytelling, people are, going to be amazed with kind of work which in future is going to come from consumer,
right?
Not from, because they are having fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We are not having fun in offices. Mm-hmm. They are having fun out there shooting their videos. That's why they are so interesting. Yeah. I think we should get fun back. We should get fun back to our profession.
Absolutely. I see that 5 a.m. on Marine Drive, all the folks out with making their reels and just having fun. And I think your point about faith and fun is so important in storytelling, in brand journeys, and that is what comes out. And I personally think we need a lot more of that. But thank you so much for your time. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.